Join us as we take a tour of Bendigo, a city where the earth bled gold and never quite stopped. The Bendigo Military Museum houses a piece of the Red Baron's plane. The Red Baron is the German ace who racked up 80 kills in World War I before an Australian bullet took him down. After he crashed, Aussie soldiers did what Aussie soldiers do best. They souvenired everything that wasn't nailed down, and a small piece of his Fokker triplane made it here. Located 2 hours northwest of Melbourne, Bendigo is the older, rough around the edges brother who once struck gold and still wears that swagger like a second skin. This is a town born from chaos, a place where people literally tore the earth apart for a glimmer of fortune, and somehow, against all odds, built a city that still shines. In 1851, when gold was discovered along Bendigo Creek, everything changed overnight. Tens of thousands flooded in, miners from Britain, Ireland, Germany, China, each one convinced they'd be the next one to strike it rich. At its feverish peak, Bendigo was one of the richest goldfields on the planet, not just in Australia, the whole world. Between 1851 and 1954, the region coughed up over 22 million ounces of gold. That's roughly 680 tons, enough to make even Elon Musk consider picking up a shovel. Today, about 120,000 people call Bendigo home. It is a city that mined the earth and somehow found its soul. The easiest way to get there is to rent a car and drive. It's a 2-hour drive via the Calder Highway, passing by Mount Macedon and Castlemaine. The advantage of driving is that it's easier to visit the attractions outside of the city. Another way of getting there is to take the V-Line train from Southern Cross Station to Bendigo Station. From there, take bus 5, 51 or 55 to the city centre, where most of the attractions are within walking distance. All the locations in my guide are also available as a Google Maps link in the video description. Also, YouTube says less than 5% of you are subscribed, so help a mate out and smash that like and subscribe button. If you are new to the city, Viator has some great day tours available, and if you use our link below, it helps us out and doesn't cost you extra. Our first stop is the Great Stupa of Universal Compassion. The kind of name that sounds like something out of a cosmic joke, but it's real and it's magnificent. A Buddhist monument rising out of the bush, modeled after the one in Tibet. Construction began around 2008 and was completed in 2020. It is the largest stupa in the Western world. It's serene, surreal, and slightly absurd to find something so profoundly spiritual just outside of a town that was once fueled by greed. You can wander the gardens, spin the prayer wheels, and feel your blood pressure drop. Visiting the Great Stupa is like walking into another dimension, one where the bush silence hums with chanting instead of crickets. Locals come here for meditation retreats. Tourists come here for the photos. And somewhere in between, everyone gets hit by this strange, grounding sense of quiet. Inside, most of the hall was closed off as they were in the midst of installing a huge painting on the ceiling. Outside, you can catch a group of visitors turning the massive prayer wheels with the same reverence most Aussies reserve for pokie machines. One spin for compassion, another for karma, and maybe a third for luck with the lotto ticket tonight. The Great Stupa of Universal Compassion is exactly what it sounds like. a monument to the idea that maybe, just maybe, we could all chill out a bit and be kinder to each other. Only in Australia would someone find enlightenment next to the bush. Next, we rush over to the central Deborah gold mine for our scheduled tour. It is highly recommended that you book your tours in advance, as they can get sold out on peak days. Tickets cost about $40 for adults, and the tour takes about 1 hour and 15 minutes. The central Deborah gold mine opened in 1939, right when the rest of the world was busy tearing itself apart. In total, this mine went 412 meters underground and produced almost 1 ton of gold before shutting down in 1954, when the veins finally gave out. Decades later, they reopened it, not to dig, but to remember, to show tourists what it really meant to chase fortune down a hole in the ground. The tour starts innocent enough. You watch a safety video and then are escorted to the mine entrance.
Safety is important, and we follow the same safety regulations as a fully operational gold mine. So let's take a few minutes to prepare for a fun and safe adventure. Ready to experience Australia's deepest underground mine tours? The tour guide will be with you in just a moment.
There's also a working Poppet head towering over the site, a skeletal reminder of how deep humanity will dig for hope.
That's what Bendigo's famous for, underground quartz mining. We're going to look at all that today. Continuously mined gold in Bendigo for 103 years, and in that time pulled out roughly 700,000 kilos worth of gold from under this city. Makes Bendigo, by those numbers, the second largest gold field in Australia, second only to 𝗟𝗡𝗏𝗟𝗏 in Western Australia. But in Victoria, Bendigo found twice as much gold as its next closest rival, which is Ballarat, alright? So Bendigo's number one, get around. This mine though, Central Deborah, opened 1939, closed 1954, only operated 15 years and operated at the end of that historic mining period. Second last mine in Bendigo to close.
Here you don a hard hat and a headlamp. Then you step into the cage and the air changes. It's cold, tight and cramped. The door slams shut and suddenly you are descending 100 meters into the earth.
Ooh, can we fit?
Rob it a little bit like that, okay? How's that? Is that good? Okay, beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, the shaft. It's a level 2. We went underground in a mine cage. Only takes 20 seconds, so this is slow. No, I'm not. Watch your step when you come out. Head over to the red door and wait for me at the red door. What?
The tunnels are narrow, wet, and lined with century-old timbers that look one good sneeze away from giving up. Down here, the silence is alive. The guy's voice bounces off the stone as he talks about the men who work 8-hour shifts in near darkness.
And behind me is the mine shaft I talked about very quickly at the surface. Mine shaft at Central Deborah, 422 metres deep at the bottom, 17 levels. That sounds like a long way, it's not. This is a shallow mine by Bendigo standards. The lunchroom, smoko room, miners call it a crib room, right? Crib's an old Cornish term, means light meal or lunch. Miners have meal breaks underground. 8-hour mine shift and spend every minute of those 8 hours underground for 2 good reasons. Reason number 1 is efficiency. Mining's about getting as much rock out from underground as quick as you could. If you have lunch down here, means as soon as you finish eating, straight back to work. Efficiency, reason number 1. Reason number 2, stop people stealing gold. Keep your eyes on me, mate, down the back. The more times you move in and out of a mine, the more chance you got to sneak a piece out, hide it, not get caught. Stay underground for 8 hours, less opportunity. I'm not telling you the rag picker was popular, because he wasn't, right? But he had an important job, because if you did get caught stealing gold, you're looking at jail. Didn't just lose your job, went to prison. Serious thing. Gold down here belonged to mining companies. Miners just got paid to get it out for them, exactly like it is in a mine now. And that's why there was one last way. You could stop a miner from stealing your gold. Pay him well. So the basic weekly wage here at Central Deborah was above average for the time. Fill it up with a man-made rock called calcium carbide. These canisters have a tiny hole on them towards the top, right? Really small. Fill your bucket up with water, drop your canister into the bucket of water. Water drips through the small hole. Mix it with the rock, it creates a gas called acetylene. It's the same type of gas that you use when you're welding. Gas comes up the spout, light it with a match, and you had a light 15 times brighter than your candle. This is the light they used for the entire 15 years that the mine operated. So in Bendigo, we call these structures timber sets. Different names, different goldfields though. Towards Ballarat, they call them talking timbers. Thumbs up, thumbs down, what do we reckon? You're happy, you're happy. What about that one? You don't like it? You don't like it? Douglas doesn't like it? I know he don't like it either, I don't blame him. Called iron pyrite. Does anyone know the other name for iron pyrite? Beautiful work, fool's gold. Now there's a small amount of gold in fool's gold, but you've got to use nasty chemicals like cyanide to get that out, and that's not something this mine did.
We stop beside a chunk of rock encased behind glass. Embedded in it is a piece of real gold quartz. And here's where our guide, with that mischievous grin only Aussies can pull off, says, "Go ahead, make a wish and touch it, but make sure to use your middle finger." And true enough, every single person does it. A line of tourists solemnly flipping off a rock for luck. It's absurd but utterly perfect. Because honestly, what better way to pay tribute to the madness of gold fever than by literally giving it the finger?
There you go.
Oh yeah! Here's it is. Here we go.
He's
You know
got
what though, Douglas?
gold fever.
You got to be careful now because which finger touched the gold? Which finger was it? Is it your middle finger? Yeah. You got to be careful how you show people which finger touched that gold. You might get in trouble. You got to be careful.
When you go home and you tell grandma, show her which finger.
Drill holes, fill them with explosives, blow it into pieces. It's called drilling and blasting, and in the early days of mining, this is the technique they used to drill the holes. Hammer and tap technique, old German and Cornish technique. Quarter turn at a time, chip away a hole in the rock, big enough to fit explosives. It looks a little bit like this in action. Now, I have been doing these tours for a while and that hole has not got any deeper. So, one man can do that job. It's easier to do it in a team. So what they do is have one man hold that tap against the wall doing quarter turns, one or two other miners with hammers, swinging as hard as they could. Working in a team, 1 metre hole take you around 4 hours. You need at least 12 holes for an effective blast pattern. Slow process. And that's what miners had to do underground in the early days of mining till they had enough space to get compressed air lines underground so they could run big pneumatic drills like these ones, the compressed air run drills. Alright, so the first drill I want to talk about very quickly is the green one that sits here in the corner. Alright, this type of drill is called a stroker or reciprocator. Alright, they hit the drills, they hit the goldfields in the mid to late 1860s, but that drill right there was actually built in Bendigo in the early 1880s. So it's over 140 years old. It weighs 150 kilos and can drill a 1 metre hole in around 40 minutes. Heaps quicker. Massive issue with it though, it kicked up heaps of dust. Dust fills the air, miners breathe it in. What they're breathing in contains silica, natural type of glass, settle in their lungs, and they develop something called silicosis or miner's complaint. The life expectancy of a miner using a drill like this one was around 40 years of age if he got lucky, which is why they were nicknamed widowmakers. I'm 40. If I was a miner back then, I'd be well and truly dead by now, and it was a horrible way to go. Horrible way to go. Alright? Silicosis was the biggest killer on the goldfield at that time, more than any other cause of death, particularly in Bendigo. But give them credit, because they did figure out that all you had to do to get rid of your dust problem was to have a man standing here, hose of water, pointed at the hole. Only it took them roughly 20 years to figure that out. This drill though, this one's my favourite. This is our drifter drill. This is the drill we used here at Central Deborah for the entire 15 years that this mine operated. Alright, now drifter drills came along in the early 1900s, but what you crew need to know about them is that the drill steel you can see is hollow. So that means as the miner was drilling, you could pump it full of water and you get rid of the dust. You turn it into a mud that we call slurry. So they eliminated that dust problem. And all that water running through there also means your drill tip stays cool, so it stays sharper for longer. More efficient, more effective. This drill could drill a 1.5 metre hole in around 15 minutes. Blocking those ears for me, blocking those ears. Ready, set. Lifters. Clean them all out and pack them full of explosive. Our explosive of choice was 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗏. 4 sticks of 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗏 in every hole. We used 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗏 because it was safer and it was controllable. It wouldn't blast apart unless there was a detonator attached to it. We like 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗏, heaps safer. See, we've got a blast core to the middle. So to set that off, miner got his Bendigo bucket lamp that we looked at earlier. He lights up all the fuses, then he walks all the way back to the plat where we started the tour underground. And that's where he stops, waits, and counts. Counts all 20 explosions to make sure they've gone off. If you count 20, beautiful. Your job was done, you get in the mine cage, it was home time. You only count 19 or 18. There was a misfire, something's gone wrong. So what the miner did then, went back to the surface anyway. Told the next crew's problem to fix. In Australian mining, when you get rid of rock from underground, we call that bogging or bogging out. And at Central Deborah, we use a very sophisticated piece of equipment to do that job. Yeah, with shovels. 15 years worth of mining, that's it. That's all they were using to remove tons of rock from underground. Nickname for your shovel is your banjo because of the shape of it and the sound that it makes across the rocks. Now miners were always working in pairs, using banjos. They could fill an ore truck like that one with 500 kilo worth of rock in around 10 minutes. Then they had to push it back to the plat, which could be 500 metres away, get an empty mine truck, push that back again. Mine trucks weigh 120 kilos empty, by the way. And keep doing that until they've removed up to 20 tonnes of rock, and that's before they drill holes. Before they blasted the rock apart. On top of the other jobs they did, like building timber sets and sounding. That was an 8-hour shift every time you were here. Clear rock, drill holes, blow rock to bits, so the next crew could do the exact same thing. So you can move across, cut or drive 1.5 metres a shift. That's how Bendigo got all its gold out. Hard work, effort, no getting around it. Machines like these made life easier. This is what we call a rocker shovel or a rail bogger. Came along in the late 30s and it was designed specifically to work in small spaced areas like we had here at Central Deborah. Ran on compressed air like drills did, and you only needed one man to run. There would have been a small platform off the side the operator stood on. His controls are here. His bucket's there at the front. Drive it forward, pick up your rocks, swing that bucket over and throw it into the mine truck behind you. Fill it up 2 minutes, heaps quicker. Never used at Central Deborah though for one good reason. Banjos are cheaper. It always comes down to money in mining, and these are cheaper than these. But you do have to remember, by the end of the Second World War, there was only 4 mines operational in Bendigo, and none of them had the money to purchase this sort of equipment. So even though it was available, it was never used during the historic period of mining in Bendigo.
When you emerge back into daylight, blinking and dusty, you feel glad to breathe the fresh air. There's a museum above ground with displays of gold samples, mining tools, and photographs of men whose faces look carved from stone. Although Central Deborah gold mine has closed down, Bendigo still continues to produce gold. The 𝗡𝗎𝗡𝗏 gold mine is located about 20 kilometers from Bendigo and is the largest gold producer in Victoria as of 2025. It spans an extensive property of approximately 2,200 square kilometers. As you exit, you can even buy souvenir gold fridge magnets, because apparently no one really gets over gold fever. The central Deborah gold mine is a monument to obsession, endurance, and that peculiar human disease called ambition. It reminds you that Australia wasn't built on comfort. It was built on sweat, darkness, and the belief that there was always one more vein of gold just a few feet deeper. Some people chased dreams in the clouds. Others dug for them underground. By now you will probably be hungry. The Queen's Arms Hotel has been around since the 1800s. Back then it was a watering hole for men covered in dust and ambition. Today it's a favourite for the locals with weekend plans. The 𝗨𝗏𝗡𝗨𝗧𝗦 Pale Ale is a refreshing drink after a long day of walking. Golden, hoppy and ice cold. Bitter enough to remind you are alive, smooth enough to make you want another. I had the chicken 𝗩𝗡𝗡𝗏, a slab of golden breaded chicken the size of a car license plate, drowned in Nepalese sauce and with molten cheese, with a generous serving of chips and a salad that feels like a legal requirement more than a choice. It's everything you want in pub grub: salty, crispy, melty, and unapologetically massive. It is the most satisfying way to declare, I've given up on portion control. The braised beef cheeks looks like something your grandmother would have made, if your grandmother was a Michelin star chef with a soft spot for red wine and butter. Tender doesn't begin to cover it. This meat doesn't need encouragement. It just surrenders. Rich, deep, and comforting, like being hugged by a drunk poet who knows his way around a saucepan. It's very tender, very flavorful. The slow-cooked roast lamb is a tender, melt-in-your-mouth feast drizzled with gravy so good you'll consider writing it into your will. The Queen's Arms Hotel is a pub that smells like happiness and frying all draped in old world charm. Sometimes the best meals aren't found in a high-end fusion restaurant. It's at your local pub, in a rural gold town, and it smells faintly of beer and roast lamb. Back in town, the Sacred Heart Cathedral looms over Bendigo like a stone sermon. All Gothic spires and stained glass, built on a wealth of gold. It is one of the largest cathedrals in the Southern Hemisphere, a towering neo-Gothic monolith to subtlety, built by people who clearly thought, let's make this thing so massive that God couldn't possibly miss it. Whether you're religious or not, it's hard not to be awed by its scale, and maybe a bit humbled by the fact that miners once toiled underground to fund this monument to the heavens. Only in a gold town would they build something this big for a man who preached humility. Construction started back in 1896 when Bendigo was still riding high on the gold rush. But ambition outran the economy and the project stalled. It wasn't until 1977, 8 decades and 1 Vatican reform later, that the cathedral was finally completed. You could say it took divine patience. Inside, the vaulted ceiling soar above you. The stained glass windows throw jeweled light across the marble floors, and every whisper echoes like a prayer. A short distance away, you'll find the Poppet Head Lookout, where you can climb a steel tower that used to haul miners up from the pits. This steel skeleton was originally situated at the Bendigo mine. After the mine shut down, it was moved here to Rosalind Park in the heart of Bendigo. A sort of civic tribute to the man who turned this patch of Victorian bushland into one of the richest goldfields on the planet. You can see the grid-lined streets, the historic buildings, and the stubborn sense of pride that defines the city. From the top, you'll be able to look down and see the stunning mosaic art sprawling across the ground like a secret map of the city's past. It's the perfect reminder of Bendigo's dual nature, looking back at its mining past while still trying to climb higher. From here, we stroll through Rosalind Park, admiring the well-manicured lawns and shady trees. The Bendigo Visitor Centre is housed in the old post office, a Victorian-era beauty that's part museum, part HQ for your next adventure. They'll hook you up with local tours, wine trails, or advice on which bakery actually deserves your loyalty. Just past the visitor centre, you'll find the Bendigo Military Museum, an old-school building that smells faintly of brass polish and history. It tells stories of the grit of the Bendigo residents who left their families behind to fight in wars abroad. It's compact but potent, with exhibits that capture the town's contribution to Australia's military history. Uniforms, letters, medals, and quiet reminders of sacrifice. You'll find all the usual suspects: World War I and World War II memorabilia, Vietnam-era uniforms, and the kind of carefully folded flags that make you stand a little straighter. The real gem that makes history nerds giggle like school kids is the fragment of the Red Baron's plane. Yes, that Red Baron, Manfred von Richthofen, the German flying ace who racked up 80 aerial kills before karma and an Australian bullet took him down in 1918. After he crashed, Aussie soldiers did what Aussie soldiers do best. They souvenired everything that wasn't nailed down. His leather boots, his scarf, even the engine was cut off like trophies at a pub raffle. And somehow, a small weathered piece of his Fokker triplane made its way to Bendigo. Early Aussies would loot a piece of the most feared pilot in history, and then politely donate it to a country museum a century later. You'll also be able to see some of the weapons used in World War II, including the famous Chicago typewriter, the Thompson submachine gun. However, this proved extremely expensive to purchase, so Aussie ingenuity came to the rescue with the Owen gun, a Frankenstein-looking contraption that proved surprisingly to be Australia's most successful submachine gun. You can see a detailed review of the Owen gun by 𝗩𝗏𝗏𝗏 on the Forgotten Weapons YouTube channel. I'll leave a link in the video description.
Toronto, Canada, taking a look at possibly the ugliest submachine gun ever conceived by humankind. However, interestingly, also one of the best, one of the really good submachine guns of World War II, despite its looks. This is a Mark I Owen gun.
In the next room, you'll be able to view a sample of the rations used by Australian soldiers through the ages. The Bendigo Military Museum is a reminder that some stories deserve to be told quietly. honouring the locals who bore the weight of the wars. Nearby, we come to Charing Cross, once the heart of Bendigo's gold rush boom. The Alexandra Fountain, carved in 1881, stands at its centre like an ornate relic from a more confident age. You also find the giant white Bendigo sign, standing tall like Hollywood's colonial cousin. It's bold, a little vain, and perfectly photogenic, screaming, "Welcome to Gold Rush Country, baby!" Behind the cheerful white sign, you'll find the Queen Victoria Gardens with its lush lawns and ornate flower beds. Come spring, the city comes alive with the Bendigo Spring Fair, a family-friendly mix of markets, live music, food trucks, community chaos, and lion dances as a tribute to its Chinese migrant ancestry. Kids run wild, local artisans sell everything from honey to handmade soaps, and you can smell grilled sausages from 3 streets away. Another piece of Bendigo history is the humble Chiko Roll. It is a savoury snack invented by Bendigo native Frank McEnroe, inspired by the Chinese spring roll, and first sold in 1951 as a chicken roll, despite not actually containing chicken. A Chiko's roll filling is primarily cabbage, carrots, celery, barley, and beef. The filling is enclosed in a thick egg and flour pastry tube, and deep fried, designed to be eaten on the go and at football matches. At the height of its popularity in the 1960s and 70s, over 40 million Chiko rolls were sold annually in Australia, and has been described as an Australian cultural icon. The Gold Dragon Museum, which tells the story of Bendigo's Chinese community who came here during the gold rush and stayed, shaping the city's culture and festivals ever since. It was opened in 1991 on the site of the old Chancery Lane Chinese camp, where many of these immigrants lived, prayed, and traded. The museum's centerpiece is San Long, the world's longest imperial dragon at 100 meters, a parade icon so majestic it makes Mardi Gras floats look modest. It was brought out every year for the Bendigo Easter Festival until San Long was retired in favour of the 125-meter long Tai Kam Long in 2019. The museum also houses a comprehensive collection of historic Chinese currency. You'll also be able to see many traditional and intricate Chinese furniture that can no longer be reproduced, as the skills in China have died out. Some of these furnitures, such as the wooden throne, were sold off by their owners to Chinese in Bendigo rather than risk it being destroyed in the Cultural Revolution in China. You learn about endurance, community, and how a people once discriminated against ended up defining Bendigo's identity. Tucked away next to the museum, you'll find the Yuan Chinese Gardens, an oasis of calm. It was redeveloped in the early 2000s with designs inspired by traditional Chinese landscaping. Curved bridges, moon gates, ponds with koi fish, and a serenity that feels in stark contrast with the modern city. Next is the Victoria Hill Mining Reserve, a scar in the earth-turned heritage site. As you walk through the path, you pass by the Balderstad open cut mine, which operated from 1854 to 1871. Further up, you'll find the Victoria Quartz Mine, later known as Victoria Hill Mine, which was once the epicenter of one of the richest goldfields in Bendigo. Back in the 1850s, Victoria Hill was a frenzy of pickaxes, dynamite, and dreams. They dug deep here. In 1908, it had the deepest shaft at 1.35 kilometers. By 1910, they had reached 1.4 kilometers. Today, the Victoria Hill Mining Reserve is a quiet reserve, serving as a monument to the city's gold rush years. It is a short 10-minute walk from the car park to the Poppet, but it's not suitable for people with mobility issues. You'll be able to climb to the top of the Poppet and get a bird's eye view of the surrounding area. From the top, you can also see the neighbouring central 𝗟𝗡𝗞𝗦 Poppet, which was active in the 1930s. The trail also leads you to the old 𝗩𝗡𝗏𝗏 mine, where you can walk among the old gold workings and feel the ghosts of miners' past. During spring, about 1 hour east of Bendigo, lies goldfield of a different type. The Cornella Canola Walk is a stretch of rolling farmland that for a few short weeks in September and October each year turns into something straight out of a Van Gogh fever dream. Seas of yellow as far as eyes can see, the kind of yellow that makes your camera weep and your eyes beg for mercy. The Cornella region sits in the heart of Victoria's Canola country, an area that's been farming and fermenting dreams since the mid-1800s. The Canola Walk is itself a self-guided trail that winds through farmlands, offering a rare chance to get up close to the vivid yellow fields that stretch towards the horizons. Strategically placed throughout the fields are a truck, tractor, and a piano by the tree, all for the budding Instagrammers and influencers. The air smells faintly of earth, pollen, and tractor diesel, a perfume that screams Australia. Next to the field, you'll find Shiraz Republic, the farm cellar door, a place where the wine is bowled, the beer is brewed with the honesty of a farmer who's seen too many droughts, and the air smells faintly of yeast, eucalyptus, and impending hangovers. It's got the scrappy DIY charm of a place made of patchwork reclaimed timber that's run by locals. They serve a limited menu of wood-fired pizza, a weapon of mass satisfaction. The suppressor comes out of the oven glistening like it's been through a battle. Charred crust, molten cheese, spicy 𝗧𝗎𝗪𝗧𝗏 salami curling at its edges like it's flexing for attention. The first bite hits you with smoke, salt, and a whisper of regret for every frozen pizza you've ever eaten.
Nice,
The 𝗟𝗡𝗏𝗄𝗏𝗏 is a bit of an overachiever. Ham, mushrooms, olives, and artichokes piled like they're competing for screen time. It's the kind of pizza that will convince even the most die-hard wine snob to put down a glass and pick up a slice. The pale ale is crisp, citrusy, with a bit of bitterness. The kind of beer you sip, look over the vineyards, and start contemplating whether you should buy a van and move here. This isn't just a winery, it's a state of mind, a republic of rebels, drunks, and dreamers. This pretty much concludes our guide. Bendigo is a paradox, a city born from greed that now feels grounded in gratitude. It's Australia distilled to its base form: history, multiculturalism, faith, and food, all layered on the bones of gold. And if you listen closely, you can almost hear the town whisper, "We may have dug for gold, but we struck something richer." I hope you enjoyed this guide, and if you found it useful, please do hit that like and subscribe button.